thank you, Russ Thornton, for what you've done for me. This is my profession. For the last 23 years, this has been my profession. Ghosts and hauntings and trying to prove what it's all about. So thank you. You've given me a wonderful job. I also say thank you, Most Haunted, for what you've done for the paranormal world. Because that single programme has created more argument, more discussion, more debate, and more research than any ghost programme has, possibly in the history of ghost programmes. But I ask you, the ghost hunting public, because my God, are you the ghost hunting public tonight? Hey, come on, all of you, everyone. I mean, normally when I do these talks, obviously, I don't have many of the ghost hunting public, but you all are. Did any of you learn any more about what a ghost was from watching Most Haunted in the 10 years it was on? Thank you. In other words, when I joined on series, at the end of series 1, and I thought this was going to be, it did become, it was a phenomenon. We got more viewers than The Simpsons in its heyday, not The Simpsons' heyday, in Most Haunted's heyday. But basically, I thought this was going to be a research type of show. But unfortunately, over the 10 years it was on, it degenerated into Scooby-Doo. Nothing wrong with Scooby-Doo, good cartoon, but when adults start acting like that, then for me, it was time to go. And so unfortunately, I had to resign. Next question. I normally ask if we have any skeptics in the audience, but we can't. Have we got any skeptics in the audience tonight? Really? Oh, come on. No. Yeah. All right, I said nothing wrong with skepticism. Cynicism's different, but skepticism, yeah, you know, fine, we've just gone out of my mind, which is absolutely fine. Right, next question. How many people here have seen a ghost? Hands up, come on, stick them up, no messing about. Oh, don't let them down, don't let them down. How many people have heard a ghost? How many people have felt a ghost? I've got 2 hands. How many people have felt or been felt by a ghost? How many people have sensed a ghost? How many people have smelt a ghost? Yeah, look at you, come on. Now look, if I'd done this 15 years ago, there'd probably be about 7 or 8 of you put your hands up. But since all of the stuff now on TV, people are now, no more people seeing ghosts than they used to, trust me. It's just that people are prepared to admit it. People have always seen ghosts. But now we're not frightened. We don't think that people are going to laugh at us when we say we've seen a ghost, unlike years ago. Last time I was here, a few years ago, I was doing a talk for the young farmers in this very theatre, and I made a big mistake. I asked the 6th question. I asked them all if they'd seen a ghost, heard a ghost. And I also said, has anybody in this audience tonight ever had sex with a ghost? Has anybody ever had sex with a ghost? No, good. Well, that night, lad at the back, they did that. Oh, they knew it. Don't worry. They all turned around and looked at me right in the face. And I'm standing on the stage hoping it's going to swallow me up. What else will it? How am I getting out of this one? So I thought, no, grasp the nettle. I looked him straight in the eyes and I said, you, sir, are actually telling me that you had sex with a ghost. He says, hey, oh no, look, I'm ever so sorry. I thought you said a goat. It's for you. Anyway, right. What I am going to try. Oh, what I haven't explained to you, by the way, yet, is guys, I am actually the chosen one. I've been put here for a purpose, and that purpose is to prove what ghosts are. The reality behind ghosts, rather than the Scooby-Doo nonsense. One of the first things I need to tell you is that the profession of a ghost, if it had one, wouldn't be to scare you. Oh, sorry. They're not there for that. They haven't been put on this earth to stand at the foot of your bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, rattling chains, going, ooh, at the bottom of your bed. That's Scooby-Doo, that's Most Haunted, that's Hollywood, that's Paranormal Activities 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's not what they're there. They're here for a reason. And that's what I'm going to try and explain to you over the next however long I get before they bring the cattle prods on to bring me off. Right. I believe, I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy that's fascinated by the whole subject and is trying to come up with the reality of the ghost business rather than the scare factor of the ghost business. And there's a big, big difference between the two. Oh look, there's an audience. An audience! Whoa. So, this is what I think. That's all, nothing else. I believe that approximately 60% of what we see and hear is nothing more than a recording. going to deal with first. It could be 39% and 61%. I'm not sure. That's just what I'm saying. The other 40% is the spirit and soul of a dead person. An intelligence that is around for a reason. And the reasons I'm going to try and explain to you over the next few minutes. Half an hour, something like that. So 40% is the spirit and soul of a dead person. But before I even go there, that's my book. The book, what I wrote, on sale, still outside, only £10, signed copy still available. It's called What is a Ghost? So I thought I'd better try and explain what the word means. Right, come on guys, I've got an audience here full of believers, of people that are into... What does the word mean? Ghost. Yes, sir.
Incarnate soul of a once living...
Good one. Soul of a... Yes, soul of a possum. No, sorry. Come on! Oh, come on, guys! You're ghost hunters!
It's something to do with energy.
GH energy? Right?
It's something to do with energy.
Something to do with energy. Right. Oxford English Dictionary. The disembodied spirit or soul of a dead person. The word, ghost, comes from a Proto-Indo-European word, well over 3,000 years old, goist. Ghoidz. Guess what it means? You won't. And we haven't got all night. To be frightened of. Oh, come on. Ghoidz. Goist. To be frightened of. From that word came the Saxon word geist, poltergeist, the Middle English word ghost, G-O-S-T, the Old English word ghast, the Flemish word geest, G-H-W-S-T. They all mean the same thing. To be frightened of. Anything that we don't understand, that walks through the wall, that throws a glass off the table, that knocks something off the mantelpiece, footsteps going up the stairs and we can't see a figure. We're frightened of it. And we call it a ghost. Prove it. Right, okay. What about when William Caxton came over here in the 1400s with his printing press from Holland? He took the Middle English word ghost, G-O-S-T, but he spelt it as he did in Holland with a silent H. And we got a ghost, G-H-O-S-T. Right, let's go back to the Old English word, ghast. Have you ever been aghast at something?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen something ghastly?
Yeah.
It's frightening. Guys, unfortunately I lost it. It was on my phone, but there's some paranormal group in America, and it only came on my phone, I think, 2 days ago, and it's gone off again. And it says on it, now I must use it from now on, it says, please don't be afraid of what we don't understand. And it's so true. But we are afraid of what we don't understand. We're in the Middle Ages still. Anything and everything that we see that we don't understand is a ghost. And we're frightened of it. Right, that's got that bit out of it. Back to the script. 40% of spirits and souls. It's a spirit and soul of a dead person. I'm going to call it a ghost. I would like to change the name to energy. It's an energy source. Not a ghost, something to be frightened of. It's an energy source that leaves the body on point of death and goes somewhere. Please, don't ask me where. Because I can't tell you. I don't know whether it goes to heaven. I don't know whether it goes to hell. I don't know if it goes to this spiritual plane, this spiritual dimension, this frequency, this vibration. But it goes somewhere. It's the spirit and soul of a dead person. It's an intelligence that knows you're there. Oh, sounds scary. Yeah, it knows you're there. It can interact with you. It can come back if you need it in time of crisis. It can be with you if you're in trouble. It can come back and see the grandkids if Grandma never saw them. We're coming up to Christmas. We're coming up to the time, yes there is one, we're coming up to the time when the little girl most of the year has been saying, Mummy, why does that old lady come into my bedroom at night? She's not frightened of it, because there's nothing to be frightened of. It's the norm to her. And then Christmas comes, and then the photograph album comes out. The photographs come out, and the little girl's standing going, Mummy, that's the lady. That comes, oh my God, it's your grandma. She died 3 years before the little girl was born. And this happens over and over and over again. This is proof positive. Grandma comes back to see the kids. And it's like, right, okay. So, question. Anybody know how many people have died on this planet? Since death started, which was just after life. A lot. It's just after life. A lot. Let's leave it at that, shall we? Right, where are their spirits and souls? Where are their ghosts? Well, most of them have gone. Up there, down there, this spiritual plane, this dimension, this frequency, this whatever, they've gone. But there's some of them that are still here, that have stayed behind. And they stayed behind for a reason. Reason number one, they've got unfinished business. They were murdered. Nobody found murder. They were executed for a crime that they didn't commit. They were never buried. I've got lots of phrases. One of them, laid to rest. Do you realise how important that was to people in the days that most ghosts come from? People expected 6 foot of English earth, or American earth, or French earth, or whatever, a gravestone with a name on it. The family round the grave. A service, a Christian or a burial service of their denomination to lay them to rest. Now, if you're not at rest, where are you? You're abroad, you're around, you're a ghost. So they've got unfinished business. They've got a job that was their life. They loved the job or a hobby, and they never finished it. And they're still around, trying to finish that job, misguidedly thinking that there's a possibility of still finishing that job that they never did. So that's reason number one, unfinished business. Number two, they don't know the dead. Children, youngsters, teenagers, the whole of your life in front of you, cut off in an instant. And you actually don't know the prime example, one of the best films for me, Ghost, with Patrick Swayze. He's shot in the street, and he's actually coming up to people at the beginning of the film, getting angry with them, because they can't see him. Listen, will you listen? Why? They can't see him. He doesn't know at that point that he's dead until, what's his name, Older May, actually tells him he's got a bit of a shock. You're dead, kid. But he didn't know it at the beginning. Soldiers on battlefields, probably the most underestimated haunted sites on the planet. Because the only people that sees the soldier on the battlefield, or years ago anyway, was the farmer. And the guy walking his dog. But they are full of all the ingredients that cause the haunting. And you've got airfields, this country, RAF airfields, United States airfields in this country from the war, First and Second World War. There isn't an airfield in Britain that hasn't got ghosts on it. Young airman, 18 years of age, trainee pilot, makes a mistake, plane turns upside down, screams into the ground, 350 miles an hour, smack! He's blown to pieces, he's vaporised in a second. He didn't even get time to blink, never mind prepare himself for death. And the poor lad spends the rest of eternity walking across the apron of the airfield, headed in the same direction, towards the control tower, for orders, for help. He reaches the control tower. There's weeds growing up it, the windows have gone, the operations board's now empty, but the poor lad's walking in there every day or however, whatever, I don't know, and then he walks in and, no, is the war still on? I know it's a bad landing, but can I have another Spitfire? Can I try again? They actually don't know they're dead. Anybody, any connection with the RAF in the audience with me now? No, I can say what I want. No. There is still to this day an unwritten law on all RAF stations in the British Isles that any RAF personnel, including dog handlers, that refuse to go into the haunted part of the airfield will not be put on a charge. That's how seriously the Ministry of Defence or the Royal Air Force, whatever you want, treats the fact that its airfields are genuinely haunted. It's fact, this is real. Right. So we've done those that don't know they're dead, we've done those that have got unfinished business, and then we've got those that like it here. They've stayed behind because they like the place. He was the landlord of the pub for 40 years. It was the best beer in town. And he dies, but he doesn't move on. He stays behind. George, he was a factory worker. 45 years at the same factory, never married. First in the morning, last out at night, always worked weekends. They have to force him out, and he dies. And 2 weeks after George's funeral, George's ghost is seen back at the machine. It's his machine. He polished it, he cleaned it, it was his life, and he stays behind. Houses, cottages, modern houses, old houses, haunted by people that still think that they live there. This is normally where someone starts to nod, smile, turn to the person next to them. The number of builders, decorators, plumbers, electricians, demolition men, they see ghosts when they're still in the building. The old lady, she lived in the house for the whole of her life. The kids were offhand, and she had a new bathroom put in and fantastic expensive wallpaper in her bedroom. It was a pride and joy. And the kids used to come and look at it, the neighbours came in. She dies. She doesn't move on. She stays behind, it's her house. And this is often when I get phone calls from people, we bought this house 2 years ago. Lovely house, no, nothing silly in it, no ghosts, no vibe, nothing like that. Lovely atmosphere. But for the last couple of months, things have started to happen. The kids say they see this old lady in the bedroom, and you can't understand what's happening. And the first question I always ask is, are you doing any work in the house? Oh, yeah. Funnily enough, 2 months ago, the builders came in. We're having the wall knocked out. The bathroom's coming out. We're having that awful pink flock wallpaper taken off that bedroom. That's hers. That's her pride and joy. What are you doing with my house? They still think, I could bore you for hours with this, but the stories that I've been told from people. Because the thing that Guy asked me earlier, how do I learn all my stuff? I said, talking to people. Purely by talking to people. And 23 years of ghost walks and 1.5 million people on a ghost walk around the city of Derby. I haven't taken them all. I have guys as well now. But talking to people, and they tell me the stories. Stories is the wrong word, accounts. Lady in Derby on a ghost walk with me about 2 years ago. My first house was haunted. Number 24 Stanley Street in Derby. She said, terraced house, and I moved in, but I couldn't afford the mortgage alone. So I took 2 girlfriends. Had a room each. Everything was... So I know it was haunted. I think it was the old lady that used... I said, you've read the book. She says, no, I've never met you before. Okay, let's carry on. So there's an old lady, I'm sure it's her that haunts it. And everything was all right, not a problem, until one of the young ladies started bringing a lad back for the night. Not having that going on in my house, right? She said, the 2 of them in bed, about 3 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden, crescendo of a noise in the bedroom, as if the furniture was being thrown around. Terrified them. Both sat up in bed, lights on, looking around to see whether... Nothing out of place. And then in between the 2 of them, they heard this voice. This used to be my bedroom. He was gone. She said, he put his clothes on. He was gone. Clothes under his arm, outside, gone. Never came back again. She said, but it gets worse. She said, that was fine. But she said it got even worse when the same young lady decided to paint the bedroom pink. In other words, I don't want my bedroom painted pink. It was all right as it was, thank you. Guys, this is real. This is people telling me their stories over and over, and they could have been listening to the person telling the story last week, but they didn't. And they're the same things over and over and over again. It's a reality. This is bigger in America, I believe, now than over here. But to this day, there is still an unwritten law on the statute, not unwritten, that's wrong, that was the other one, on the statute books now, very similar to the law that's still on the statute books that states any taxi driver should carry a bale of straw on the front seat to feed the horse. It's still on the statute books now. And this law is still on the statute books now. If you knowingly sell your house and you've got a ghost in it, then you should sign the bottom of the deeds, complete with incumbent. This is still there. In Derby, 14 years ago, 2 old ladies sold their dad's house after he died, village nearby called Mayfield, near Ashbourne in Derbyshire. Lowe's Cottage it was called. And soon after the guy and his family moved in, poltergeist activity started big time. Big time. I spoke to the guy's mother, who wanted me to go on Radio Derby and talk, because she said, I'm telling you, people don't believe him, but she said, you should have seen my family when they turned up at my house in Chadderston at 2 o'clock in the morning, terrified. Right. This law, this guy knew about, And he took the two old ladies to the Crown Courts in Derby because they hadn't signed his deeds complete with incumbent. And guess what? He lost. Well, of course he lost. What self-respecting judge in this day and age would find someone going, well, I've got a ghost in my house, he didn't tell me. But by God, it's a fact, and it's still on the statute book. And that's how serious properties that have got ghosts in used to be in the olden days, not now. Right, so we've done 3 up to now. Right, the big one, number 4. I have a question for you chaps. You sat quietly long enough. Has anybody ever seen the ghost of a caveman? Ooh, how strange. I'm not saying there's not. There ain't many, trust me. So in other words, down there, long time ago, there were almost no ghosts. How strange. Right, okay, but since then, oh yeah, lots of Romans and Saxons, I won't say Vikings, Romans and Saxons and medieval and Tudors and Stuarts and Victorians and... Stop. Has anybody ever heard of the ghost of a young lad wearing a hoodie, smoking a joint, with his backside hanging out of his jeans, walking through a council house? Anybody got one? I have to say, a few months ago, doing a stage show with Derby Paranormal, and I asked that question, and the lady on the front row says, yeah, I've got one. I said, sorry? She said, yeah, I've got it, she's my nephew. I said, yeah, she's a council house. She said he committed suicide and is still seen standing, looking out of his bedroom window. But there's very few, trust me. So there's a big period in between, from prehistory right up to almost now, where there's lots of ghosts. So, what raised its ugly head on this planet 2,000 years ago that's caused some ghosts? You got it. Christianity. Not religion. A lot of people say that religion. I say, no, we always had religion. People used to run around naked talking to the trees, didn't they? Don't try it this time, Ian. Too late, you have to wait for the summer for that. 2,000 years ago, approximately, the Emperor Constantine, the Roman Emperor, his mum was a good Christian. St. Helen, keeper of the cross. But Constantine realised that this new form of religion was going somewhere, was a force to be reckoned with, and he realised that he could control the population, us, through fear. Hijacked Christianity, called it the Roman Church, and invented all of the terrors that have kept us under control for nearly 2,000 years. Didn't need spears and swords, you just needed fear. And invented, are you ready? 10 Commandments, 7 deadly sins, 4 mortal sins, purgatory, judgment day, hellfire, damnation, Beelzebub, Baal, the devil, demons, the Antichrist, witches, all those terrors that kept medieval man in tow. It was illegal not to go to church in the olden days. So all of these terrors were there to control us, you, through fear. Right? You've broken one of the 10 Commandments. You've committed a mortal sin. Where are you going to go? Straight to hell. And burn in hellfire. For how long? Eternity. At 10,000 degrees centigrade, with ripping of flesh and gnashing of teeth, and all the terrors of Dante's Inferno. Do you understand how terrified people were of all of that? So you've committed a crime against God. You know you're not going to get in through the pearly gates, don't you? So Peter's not going to let you in. I'm certainly not going to burn in hell at 10,000 degrees centigrade. I'll stay here, thank you. If the old lady can stay here, because she likes the pink plot wallpaper in her bedroom, I'm pretty sure someone can stay here because they're terrified of burning in hell at 10,000 degrees. People, death was not the problem. It was the afterlife. Death was commonplace. Most people were dead by 40. Their children predeceased them. They'd been in battles. They'd seen executions. It was not death that was the fear. It was the afterlife. It's where you're going to go. Are you going to go up there? Or are you going to go down there? And that's what terrified people. Prove it, Richard. Hang on. I can't prove any of this. I can't get my fingers close enough. Oh, look, they're touching. That's how much proof I've got that ghosts exist. None. And I defy any of you here in this audience tonight to give me some proof that ghosts exist. Bring them on. Show it to me. Because we can't. And yet, since, as I said, since death started, people have talked of the dead return. and there is something in it. But there's no proof. There is no proof at all that I know of on this planet. Right, little bit of proof about what's caused them. Right, number one, Queen Isabella, the she-wolf of France, the lady that was imprisoned at Castle Rising when Uncle Norman was here talking to you last night. She was a Catholic. She was the daughter of the King of France, and she was the wife of King Edward II. She had him horrendously murdered in Berkeley Castle. If you want to know more, see me afterwards. But if I just mention a red-hot poker and leave the rest to your imagination. Okay? He had the death of a dog, and it took him over a quarter of an hour to die. And she was also an adulteress. She was having an affair with his best friend, would you believe? Which is rather strange, because actually he was gay as well, but that's another story. So anyway, she had the King of England murdered. God's anointed on this planet. She knew where she was going, didn't she? She was going to get it through. She knew. So, before she died, she became a Franciscan nun and joined a nunnery. And in her will, she wrote in her will that she insisted that when she was buried in the coffin, dressed as a Franciscan nun with a veil across her face. Ooh, why? Right, when they exhumed King John from Worcester Cathedral in the 1700s, bad lad, as you know, Robin Hood, Sheriff of Nottingham, King John was excommunicated by the Pope. So guess where he was going? He knew where he was going. When they opened King John's coffin, they found King John dressed as a Benedictine monk with a sackcloth veil across what was left of his skeletal face. Why would the King of England want to be dressed as a humble Christian monk with a veil across his face? What about his orbs and his sceptres and the crown? And why would Queen Isabella, the Queen of England, want to be dressed as a Franciscan nun with a veil across her face? Any ideas? So no one would recognise her. Where? Yeah. Okay, so I drop dead tomorrow morning, tonight. Everyone says thank God for that. He's gone at last. Right? And I'm floating off up to heaven. Yeah? Getting ready, get wings fitted, ready up there. Right? Floating up. And I arrive at the pearly gates, and there's this guy called St. Peter standing there. He says, good morning. He's got a clipboard in his hand with a load of names on it. He says, good morning, Peter. St. Peter. Richard Felix. Hang on, let me order down the list. This is a list of those not admitted through the pearly gates today. I'm afraid, Mr. Felix, you're on it. Hey, I haven't done anything wrong. Says here, do you not remember when you did it when you were 17? It's bloody don't, mate, too long ago. You did it again at 23, 44, 40. I said, stop doing it now. It doesn't matter. It's on the list, mate. I'm telling you. You ain't coming in here, right? I stopped it a long time ago. So, there he is. There's me arguing the toss with St. Peter, and all of a sudden, this little Franciscan nun floats up with a veil across her face, walking stick. Oh, good morning, St. Peter. Oh, good morning, sister. You want to, yes, please, if that's all right. Hang on, I'll get the keys for you. Look. Through. Open the gates, lads. There's this Franciscan nun, good Christian coming. Off she goes through. I say, hey, hang on. Whoa. No. Anyway, while I'm arguing again, this old guy comes in, Benedictine monk comes in with a sackcloth veil. Good morning, St. Peter. Is it all right if I go through the gates? Well, of course, Father. Yes, through good Christian. And I was like, no, don't you know, that's Queen Isabella. She had a pretty red hot poker stuck up her husband's bum and killed him. Don't let her in. This is Christian. Guys, they believed this. They believed it, and because of it, they thought, don't forget it was the body of Christ that rose. So it's the body of Queen Isabella, the body of King John, that went through the pearly gates, and they believed that if they were dressed as a Christian, they'd get through the gates without being noticed and not sent to hell. It's the biggest load of rubbish you've ever heard. It's fact. It's real. Right. Okay, that's that one out of the way. Where am I? Yeah. So we've got rid of Queen Isabella, and we know that people are terrified of moving on and going to heaven or hell, so they've stayed behind. Right. The next bit. Right. The worst crime against God: suicide, or as it was called, self-murder. Punishable by, guess what? Same again. Burning in hell for 10. Okay, right. They knew that the suicide would not be at rest. It would be abroad, around. Okay? So, in this country, until 1823, suicides were not allowed to be buried in a graveyard in consecrated ground in a churchyard. All suicides in this country were taken to the crossroads and buried at the crossroads with a huge wooden stake hammered through the heart. This is where your Dracula nonsense comes from. Holding it into the ground. No coffin, shroud, into the ground, whack the old stake through the heart to hold them into the ground. And not only that, but if they managed to get the stake out, they also put a big flat stone on the face to stop them what? Rising from the grave. Okay? So there you are, everyone's filled you in, you're down there, stake in there. There you are, dead. I can't stand this, I've got to get this stake out. So, this is the dead person in the grave. Pull the stake out. It's better. Oh, there's a stone on my face now. You get the stone off your face. And then you've got to rise 6 feet through the soil. And you rise out of the grave. If you're buried at the crossroads, you'll be confused and not know which road to take. Always remain at the crossroads and never bother anybody in the village. This is fact. This is all over this country. To this day, there are crossroad ghosts, and there are still to this day graves around. One on Dartmoor of people that were buried at the crossroads. Mary J's grave near Hound Tor on Dartmoor is still there, and every day fresh flowers appear on that grave. God knows where from, but they're there every day. Someone lays fresh flowers, and her ghost has been seen frequently standing forlornly at the crossroads, still believing the mumbo-jumbo that people believed in those days. And that's why they were buried at the crossroads. Right, that's that bit out of it. This is just a little bit of proof I'm trying to give you that in the psyche of people in those days, they believed this stuff, and that's what's kept them on the ground. From 1752, there were 222 hanging offences in this country. Do you know what one of them was? Attempted suicide. Punishment by death. True. You could be hanged for a sheep, you could be hanged for stealing a sheep, you could be hanged for bestiality, a goat, or any other animal for that matter. You could also be hanged for murder. Now that's a bit unfair, isn't it? You've got a guy that pinched a few pheasants to feed the kids, keep them alive, and another guy who murdered 4 people. Both hanged. So in 1752, the church, again, God bless them, came up with this brilliant idea with the government of passing the Murder Act, which stated that no murderer was allowed to be buried. Ooh, no laid to rest. But not only were they not allowed to be buried, but they were also sentenced after death to be publicly disseminated in the Shire Hall, in whatever town it was. So that meant everything removed, bones boiled, wired up, made into a skeleton, presented to the local hospital, skin flayed, taken to the local tannery here in Derby or whatever, and tanned, used to bind books, telling of their life and trial. If they got a big enough piece, they'd make it into a pair of slippers for the mayor. This is fact, this is real. But right, are you ready for it? The body wasn't whole. And that meant on the day of judgment, no physical resurrection for you. Where are you going to go? Straight to hell. They were condemning the murderer not only to death, but to hell. And they knew that before they were executed. They were not given the last rites, because and the judge did not say, and may the Lord have mercy upon your soul, because they didn't want the Lord to have mercy on your soul. And these guys knew it, and that's another reason why they're still here. Because they daren't move on, because they know they're going to hell. And the last little bit about this fantastic bit about body not being whole. Right. When they executed King Charles I in 1649, before they buried the king, guess what they did? Say again. Again? No, they'd done that.
Oh,
Sorry, they didn't tell you how they did it. They chopped the king's head off.
They did, yeah.
One blow. Guess what they did then?
They then used handkerchiefs, so they soaked up the blood.
They did soak the blood up, absolutely. But guess what they did before they buried him?
Quarter.
Stitched his head back on. They stitched the king's head back onto his body. The bill from in the house is still in the House of Commons from the surgeon that stitched it on. And I've seen a painting of the dead king on a table with the stitch marks all the way around his neck. Why did they stitch the king's head back on?
They stitched it backwards.
Oh no, they didn't. No, that's a good one. They should have done. No, they stitched it back on properly. Why?
So you'd be recognised in hell.
Not so he'd be recognised. Because if the king's head wasn't on his body wouldn't be whole. and he wouldn't get into heaven. He was God's anointed on this planet. A little God, put here by God to rule us until he went up to his little throne in the sky. But if his head wasn't on his body, he wouldn't get through the pearly gates. They wanted to execute the king, but they didn't want to send the king to hell, so they stick his head back on. Right, Oliver Cromwell took over, Lord Protector, for 13 years and died. And when he died, King Charles II came back, the Restoration. King Charles II was the son of King Charles I. And one of the first things he did was round up all the blokes that signed his dad's death warrant and put them on trial for regicide. That's not killing Reggie, that's killing the king. Regicide is killing the king. Punishable by being hanged, drawn and quartered. Same thing, hanged, disemboweled, body taken to pieces, sent to hell, because the body wasn't whole. Oliver Cromwell was dead. Didn't matter. They went to Henry VII's chapel in Westminster Abbey, dug up the dead body of Oliver Cromwell, took it to Westminster Hall, sat it in a chair, and put it on trial for regicide. They found Oliver Cromwell's 3-year-old dead body guilty of regicide, and they took his body to Tyburn in London, which is where Marble Arches, where the hanging took place, and they chopped off his head. And they put his head on a spike on London Bridge, and they took his body 20 miles away to a cesspit and threw it in a cesspit. So the two couldn't come back together. Because they thought that even though he'd been dead for 3 years, in the spirit world there may be no time, and they might just catch Oliver Cromwell's spirit before he got through the pearly gates and send it to hell. What a load of bollocks. I'm sorry. It wasn't then. It was fact. It was belief. And it's created ghosts. That's the 40%. I'm doing all right. All right, can I carry on a bit? Can you carry on a bit?
Yeah.
I've only done 40. Right, the other 60%. Oh my gosh, the other 60% is nothing more than a recording held in the fabric of the building. Anybody heard of the stone tape theory? Yes, of course you have. Everyone, that's a silly TV programme. It was on ITV, 1970. No, much more than that. I've taken it to the realms of reality. Eh? I believe that 60% of what we see and hear of a ghost is a recording held in the building, in the fabric of the building, in the stonework, in the bricks, in the soil, in the clay, in the water. It's a recording, it's not an intelligence. It can't interact with you. It's nothing more than a recording. Right, okay, stone tape theory. Right, sandstone, limestone, granite, clay, bricks, all erectory brick here, bricks, glass, quartz, crystal, acetate, plastic, sand, keep going, cement, concrete. They're all made of silica. Silica makes up the whole of the Earth's crust. Half the Earth's crust is made up of oxygen, which is negative, and the other half of the Earth's crust is made up of silicon, which is positive. And when the two come together, they create SiO2, silicon dioxide, silica. What's your microchips made of in your computer? What sort of chips are they? Oven chips? Potato chips? What sort of chips are they? Silicon chips! What do they hold? Data. Memory. You can record. Hang on, we're halfway there. Right, okay, the red of the sandstone in the building, the red of the clay, the red of the brick, the more iron oxide there is in it, which is rust, which is magnetic. Who'd have thought, I haven't got one with me, who'd have thought 150 years ago that I could have got a piece of sticky acetate, tape, sprinkled iron oxide particles onto it, and I could record onto it. It's a cassette. It's a videotape. It holds a recording. But how do I make the recording on the tape? What do I do? If I held a piece of videotape up and said, la la la, would it record onto? No, it wouldn't. Why wouldn't? What do I need to make a recording on? I put the tape, the mini DV or whatever, put it into a tape recorder or a video camera, and it makes a recording. How? What? Magnet, yeah, the word goes before it.
Electrostat.
Thank you. Electromagnet. Hang on. Energy. You press the button and on. It's got a battery in it. And that energy causes all of those higgledy-piggledy pluses and minuses that go in different directions to all align themselves up in the same direction and hold the recording on the tape. But hang on a minute. How do I make the recording in the stone castle, in the stately home, in the old lady's cottage, in the bricks of the building? How do I make a recording into that? Where does the energy come from? It comes from you. It comes from us. Each one of us here tonight, no wonder it's getting warm, emits 2 kilowatts of electricity in a 24-hour period. Not now, not this moment, but in a 24-hour cycle, you emit 2 kilowatts of electricity. Each one of you in a 24-hour period is a 2-bar electric fire. But you have a power reservoir within you that you can use in time of crisis. I'm sure you've heard stories of a mother lifting a car off a child. Right, again, stories for you, too many. Best one. 9 years ago in Afghanistan, a young Royal Marine driving a Land Rover was blown up by an IED, roadside bomb. His Land Rover turned over and rolled down the bank into a stream. He was upside down in the stream, still alive, severely injured, but strapped in with his belt. He couldn't get out and he was drowning. Single-handedly, a Royal Marine in the next vehicle jumped out, ran down the bank and pulled the Land Rover out of the stream. Yeah. It's true, it's in the Daily Mirror. it is true. The lad's still alive and the Royal Marine Sergeant was given an award for saving the lad's life. He can't remember doing it because it's not possible. You know, if it was on its wheels, even if it was damaged, I could say, yeah, go on. No, it was upside down. He single-handedly pulled it out of the stream and saved the lad's life. Because in time of crisis, we have this power reservoir, this adrenaline rush, and harnessing all of this 2 kilowatts of electricity to keep us alive. And that's the battery, the energy source that causes the recording of you to be held in the fabric of the building. Question. Why aren't all ghosts stark naked? That'd be the end of the ghost business, wouldn't it? Would it? I don't know. I don't know. It all depends, doesn't it? How can you see the ghost of my waistcoat? It's not got an energy source in it, or a spirit, or a soul, or... Because that's how I was dressed just before I died, when the recording was made. That's why you see the soldiers on the battlefields in their uniforms, the knights in armour, the cavaliers, the policeman that was murdered, the airmen on the... whatever it happens to be. If I was to drop... Right, okay, I'm not going to do any more ghosts, so I'm going to play a cowboy film now. John Wayne film. Will you all flee the building going, oh, we've just seen the ghost of John Wayne, get the exorcist. No, it's a recording. Today's magic will be tomorrow's science. It's another phrase that is very important. So in other words, we are talking of, I believe, 60% is nothing more than a recording held in the fabric of the building. We see it, I'm not sure how or why we see it, but we see it. It doesn't interact with you. It doesn't go, ah! When it sees you, does it? It just carries on walking through the building. You go, ah! When you see it, because you're frightened of it, because it's a ghost, isn't it? It's something we're frightened of because we don't understand why it's there. It's a recording. It can't hurt you, it can't do anything to you. It just goes about its business. And that's right, a little bit of proof of it. Number one, the most haunted building in Derby is a building called The House. 14 different sightings of ghosts, not the same ghost, seen in the building, and also lots of sounds heard in the building. Oh yeah, guess what? The house just happens to be the oldest brick-built building in Derby. Right? When I was doing Most Haunted and we did 6 programs in California, we went to the Whaley House in San Diego, Old Town. It's the Holy Grail. It's the most haunted house in California, apparently. And it's the must-do place, and we went and did that one, right? Okay. More ghosts in it than anywhere else in California, apparently. Okay. Guess what? As you know, a lot of buildings in America are wooden, aren't they? The Whaley House just happens to be the oldest brick-built building in California. Oh, okay. Right. I'm doing a pilot for a TV program called Battlefield Ghosts. I'm in Pennsylvania, on the battlefield of Gettysburg. the most haunted battlefield on the planet, apparently. I was with a guide, Mark Nesbitt, who's written 9 books just on the ghosts of Gettysburg. Oh boy, he's got 1,000 sightings, he reckons, of ghosts on that one battlefield. But guess what? The whole of the Gettysburg battlefield is on a red sandstone plateau. A lot of them are recordings. Not all of them, a lot of them are recordings. 60% of them are recordings, I think. Right, last bit about it. Haunted sites that are damp or wet. Loads of them. Wells, rivers, lakes, marshland. If I live long enough, and I probably won't, my next book's going to be called Toilet Ghosts. Really? You won't believe the number of haunted toilets, bathrooms, wash houses. Yeah, you've got one, have you, Mum? Yeah, honest to God, I kid you not. There are lots of... Remember, they weren't always the toilet or the bathroom, but they are now, and it's a water thing. Energy, water. Right, water creates an awful lot of ghosts. Right? Why? Because basically water contains at least 6% silica. Silica is also, I forgot it, is a semiconductor as well. So silica is in water, right? Whoops! Nearly created a new ghost there. Right, silica is... That's all right, don't worry. Give them time to take the breath back. 6% silica in water. Why? When it rains, you'll be buying this water tomorrow night, trust me. When it rains, the rainfall flows over the mountains and it absorbs the silica from the sandstone, the limestone, the granite and the clay. And that's why there's so much, especially silica in spring water. The best one over here at the moment is Evian water. I'm not on commission yet, but wait. And that's got more silica. But the best one on the planet is Fiji water, big in America. It's £9 a bottle in London restaurants at the moment. £9 a bottle, but it contains more silica than any other spring water on the planet. Guess what? We are made up of 75% water. Okay? We contain more silica in our bodies than we do iron. But, ready for it? Punchline. Our hard drive, our memory source, is made up of at least 85% water. You can't overdose on silica. It passes through the body. Right. The older we get, the less silica we retain in our bodies. And what do we lose? Our marbles. Our memory. They've been experimenting in France for 17 years by adding extra silica into the water of elderly people. And they have reduced the degenerative disease, including Alzheimer's, by 11%. Evian water. £1.30 a bottle. No, I don't. It's not. Really, guys, I mean it. This is real. They're also now doing it in Denmark. They're now adding silica into the water of people in old folks' homes in Denmark as well, and having the same results. Memory, silica, recordings. Honest to God, if what I'm saying to you is even remotely possible, I'm talking of medieval CCTV. And it's back to, right, today's magic with tomorrow's science, right? 20 years' time, right, the police come into a building, right, come in here, right, murder took place. Okay, well, get fingerprints off that. One of the policemen said, right, I think there's blood stains on that glass, right? And the other policeman said, well, never mind all that, let's just plug into the wall and see who did it. Why not? Is it that ridiculous? Probably. It isn't, it's a possibility. And all I'm really trying to do is to produce a rational explanation to this ghost business and try and get us away from the Scooby-Doo scare factor of ghosts. And until we do get away from the Scooby-Doo scare factor of ghosts, science will not take it seriously. And that's the biggest problem. There is very little funding in this country for paranormal investigations. And the reason there's very little funding is because because there is no funding, so there's no ghosts. It's as simple as that. Any scientists amongst us with letters after their names? You're going to tell me there's no such thing? Of course you're not. You're going to tell me there's no such thing as ghosts? No. Okay. Right, I shall finish with this. Next time a scientist tells you there's no such thing as ghosts. Next time a guy with letters after his name, a scientist, tells you there's no such thing as ghosts, quote this to them. For the last 400 years, men with letters after their names have peered into the night sky. These are astronomers, by the way. Have peered into the night sky, looking through their telescopes at ghosts. Because by the time the image of that dead star travels the millions of light years to the end of his telescope, he's looking at something that no longer exists. The ghost of something that once lived. There's no such thing as ghosts, are there? Oh yes, there are, trust me. I'm not been bad. I've not gone too far.
Richard, you want to field?
Any questions?
Yeah, field some questions.
Yeah, good God, yeah. Like, is there a corner of fate? Oh, sorry, who said that? No, he's not. No, he's definitely not. Trust me, he's not. Love him or hate him, I don't care. He's not. The problem with Derek, it's not here. The problem with Derek, the problem with Derek is that he's. Oh, is this being recorded? He's the most wonderful guy on the planet. No, I work with Derek all the time. And basically the problem was that with a programme like Most Haunted, he was told, give me ghosts, give me ghosts, give me ghosts. I want 2 in the toilet, 1 in the bathroom, 1 in the exhaust pipe of that car, 2 in the garage, 1 in the bedroom, 2 in the kids' bedroom there, 1 down there, 1 in the attic. That's not like that. It is, you all know that it's not like that. And there aren't ghosts every 5 minutes. Now, poor old Derek is also told, don't ever say there's nothing here. You can't do that. You just can't do that. So, unfortunately, Derek was in between a rock and a hard place, as far as I'm concerned, as regards ghosts. And the programme was rebranded, of course, for entertainment purposes only. And did Derek entertain us? Yes. There's no getting away from it. But I've seen, since working with Derek on the stage show, a side that is real, absolutely real. We do this 3-hour show, and Derek gets about 20 minutes at the beginning to do readings. And the big one, number one, I'm standing there thinking, oh my God, another one has got, wow. But the thing is, that once his 20 minutes are over, he's turning to me saying, Rich, can I have a bit more time? Can I have some? And I'm thinking, wow, if you're blagging it, you don't want any more time. You want to get off now. I've done all right. No, he can't want to carry on. He wants to carry on with the readings. There's a reality in it, trust me. What I'm not sure about, how many mediums have got with us here tonight? Right, I am not sure whether you guys are getting voices from my dead grandma, or whether you have an ability to read my mind, and I don't quite mean it like it sounds. In other words, do we carry with us through our genes, from past lives, carry memories in this amazing hard drive, not mine by the way, it's about worn out, but it's an amazing computer hard drive that is receiver, recorder, transmitter, video player, satellite navigation system, keep going. Everything that we've ever created is based on this. And, do you realise how difficult it will be soon to get around without your sat nav? And it wasn't a few years ago, was it? We all had a good sense of direction, we're losing that one now. But basically, this is the best computer, if you like, in the world. And I'm not sure whether we carry down with us memories from the past. So when a medium says, she's given me a green dress from your great grandmother, green dress? No, what about the green dress? Well, ask your mother. All right, go over and ask Mum. And she says, oh my God, yes, right, your grandmother, she actually insisted on being buried in this green dress. Now, is that in our thought? It's a thing called thought transference, which I'm getting quite into at the moment, where we actually pass thought. We are capable of telepathy. We are, trust me. And I'm wondering if we're getting memories from another person, which to me is paranormal. Because we don't, oh, well, what does that mean? I'm off again, aren't I? What does paranormal mean? Para is the Latin for running alongside. So it means running alongside the normal. We don't quite understand it yet. What does supernatural mean? Well, it's natural, but it's a bit super as well, isn't it? Yeah, that's about it. Sorry, questions? I always start start off with that one because it gets you going. Any questions? Sir?
Just going back to your stone tape, it's something I've always thought about. You see ghosts that are on their own, and it's when you see a legion of Roman soldiers.
Harry Martindale.
You see it from knees.
Yeah.
Knees up.
Yeah, Harry Martindale.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why that was quick. Harry Martindale, 18-year-old heating engineer in York, February 1951, drilling a hole, disturbing the building in the cellar underneath Treasurer's house, and he heard a trumpet. He was up a ladder, drilling away for the heating pipes to go through, and he heard a trumpet. And he looked down the corridor, somebody's got the transistor on loud, and then he heard it again, closer, and the next thing he looked down, there was a Roman soldier coming through the wall. And he fell off his ladder. Not the Roman soldier, Harry Martindale, fell off his ladder, landed on the floor, and says, I sat there on my backside looking at 20 Roman soldiers going through the wall towards me. They were all legless. So was Harry later. After what he said. But no, they all came through the wall. But they marched through. They were all legless. He couldn't see their legs apart from their knees. Because what he saw was the moments before that, those 20 Roman soldiers were slaughtered, I believe, by barbarians. It was the time when Rome was pulling its soldiers out. And basically, I think he saw a recording held, not in the fabric of that building, because that building wasn't there 2,000 years ago, but the granite Roman road was. Anyway, years later, they did an archaeological dig underneath the centre of Treasurer's house. And 18 inches below the cellar floor, they found the Via Decumana, the Roman road heading straight into the centre of the Roman village, on exactly the line where Harry Martindale saw his soldiers. But guess what? They were 18 inches lower down, so he only saw them from the knees up. They were a recording. They didn't nod to him, they didn't say, hello Harry, all right, make us a cup of tea, we'll be back. No, they just marched through the wall and kept on going. That to me is probably the best ghost story in the world. Ghost story, they were a recording. But they were images of dead people. So we think they're ghosts. Honestly, I think I'm on to something. But I need help. You probably noticed that, psychiatric for stuff. Any more questions?
I just want
Yes,
to
madam.
ask you, going back to most haunted.
Yes.
The
Do I have to?
The books in the bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
Did
Right.
they set you up?
Some of the bits that you saw on there were what I believe to be the real stuff that happened on those haunted. And there was, I was at, somewhere in Cheshire, in this hotel in room number 6. And I left the room, I tell you what, they promised me like they promised me the earth. You still recording, aren't you? Yeah, okay. They promised me the earth, right? And they were going to do a TV, they wanted me to sit and do ghost stories, read ghost stories, or tell ghost stories in front of a fire, and it was going to be put on at like 10 to 12 at night. And so I got these books with me to reading stories up, because we were going to do it that night. Yeah, guess what? We didn't. That's beside the point. So I left. So anyway, I'd lying on the bed, blah blah blah, and I left the books on the floor by the bed. And then I came up at the end of film. It must have been 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And the two books, one was, it was a bit like this. One was as thin as that. They were big books. One was as thin as that, and the other one was as thick as that. And one was balanced on the other, on my windowsill, which was right up there. Now, it must have taken us 8-9 minutes to try and replicate it, because it would not stay on it. But we absolutely managed it in the end. But it was 4:30 in the morning, the cameras had been put away. John Dibley, the cameraman, he'd all gone, want to go to bed, because we've got to be up at God knows what time and travel back from wherever we came. So there was nobody wanting to film it. I made him go and get the camera out and film it. It was genuine. I still don't know how it happened. Nobody said me. And the other little bit of interesting thing was, did I say room number 6? Either 6 or 9. But the fantastic thing was that the 9 or the 6, whichever it was, had actually, there was only one screw in it, it had fallen the other way. So if someone thought Richard was in room number 9, it would have looked like room number 6. And that's another thing that because I call myself a bit of a ghost detective. So they really wouldn't have known that was Richard's room. And I'd got the key. And so, yes, unless they went and got a skeleton key, which has been good for a ghost program. Yeah, as far as I know, it was genuine. And an awful lot of stuff on Most Haunted, I can't explain. I know some of it must have been faked, but I swear to you, in the 4.5 years I was on the show, I never caught anybody. I genuinely didn't catch anybody faking it at all. Sir!
Got a question. I feel like the stone tape theory holds a lot of weight. Everyone here feels like, yes, this makes sense, and especially the way you explained it is spot on. Here's my question, and it might be rhetorical in nature. Cassette tapes, videotapes, yes, they record. We need a player to interact with them. Now, is it our minds, or does this play out, the bear sits in the woods, that kind of thing? Like, does it happen? Is it happening outside without us observing it?
Yeah, is it happening in this room now? If something happened tragically,
if we observe it, is that what causes it to happen, or does it happen regardless and independent of us?
I think, like any tape or anything we've got, it's there, but it needs another electromagnetic signal to press the replay button. And what I think is that it's you that does that. Forgot this. Right. Number one, I was doing a DVD signing in Gloucester, and this guy was talking to me, and he said, I've only ever seen one ghost. He said it was an oldest chap, his wife said, well, me and the wife had a really bad argument. And I stormed off up to the, normally the wife, no, he stormed off. I stormed off up to the bedroom, walked into the bedroom, and there was a guy standing in my bedroom with a Homburg hat on and a winged collar and a black suit. And I saw it for about 5 seconds and it vanished in front of me. Now, I think that he was, what's the word? The energies from his argument had caused his frequencies to change. And so he triggered the sighting in his perception that he saw. Right. Another article in the paper about 3 years ago, fantastic thing, a lady, I don't know if you saw it, the magnetic lady. She got a photograph of her with spoons hanging off her chest. It was unbelievable. But the big thing was that she said that in other words, she emits more than the normal 2 kilowatts of electricity that most of us do. But the two things, number one, she can't get a job with IT because she blows the computers up, and when she walks into rooms, she blows light bulbs. But the punchline is, the end of the story, she said, the more stressed I get, the more light bulbs I blow.
I have
See
that.
what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I've blown about 4 or 5 light bulbs in our lounge during an argument.
During arguments?
Yeah.
Oh, yes!
Yeah, as soon as I
Do you understand where I'm coming from? So if you can blow a light bulb, can you not trigger off the recording that's there that only you see? Because the lady next to you didn't have the argument. You did. So I think, I'm not sure, of course I'm not. But you see, the problem I've got is that universities or anywhere, they don't want to know. Because it's that silly man, so there's that silly man that does Most Haunted. And it's all Scooby-Doo nonsense. But it's not. Sir!
2 more questions.
2 minutes.
2
Two
more
more questions.
2 more questions.
Sir!
Do you know of anyone that's actually experimented with that
Me.
theory?
Yeah, me. We've just developed a stone tape projector. And we use it on the show. Come and see it. Next Thursday night, Elscar Heritage Centre in Barnsley. So what we do at the end of the show, it has to be a haunted theatre or a haunted building or something like that. And what we do is, because we wire up the building, we have a Wimshurst machine, which emits something like 20,000 volts into the building. We wire it up to the brick wall, stone wall, the bit of haunted brick from Morley Rectory, the stone from whatever, and we wire it up, and we charge it, and we put an electric charge into the fabric of the building. We have a satellite dish, a police scanner, frequencies, all that sort of stuff, plasma bulbs, different coloured plasma bulbs in the air, and silica smoke, which I think possibly acts as a screen, like a silica TV screen, you know what I mean, plasma screen, because dry ice, smoke, and we puff it up in the air, and we wind up the thing, and we charge up the wall, and we get everyone in the audience to do a Robbie Williams with the cameras and their phones, and everyone's taking photographs. You want to see some of the images that we've got from smoke. you've got to go on to psychicandscience.com and have a look. Some of the images are quite amazing. Now, I then, again, because remember I'm a skeptic as well, if you stare into the clouds long enough, you'll see a face. We know that. But we are getting... Now, the problem I've got with that is, hang on a minute, do I put 20,000 volts into it? 1.5 volts? 6? 9? I haven't got a clue. But at least I'm experimenting and trying to do something. And if we can progress this to such an extent that we might, in 20 years, be able to plug into the wall and see who did it. Or we might be able to go back to the White Tower in the Tower of London and find out who killed the princes in the tower. Henry VIII might be standing there, Henry VII might be standing there watching while they're being smothered. You don't know. It sounds ridiculous, but is it? Or am I onto something? Sir!
You say the stone tape theory. Now I do agree with what you're saying, but a lot of investigators in here will say from investigations, when they've got EVPs, they've had their own name, their own personal life come out. Now I agree with the whole, what we call residual energy, which is their thing. But when that comes out, what would you say that is?
What, EVP?
No, just if something starts to happen that's personal towards you, not just EVPs, just something that happens that's more personal to you that they wouldn't know, wouldn't be a recording.
Then I think it's a spirit that's around you.
Yeah.
And I'm talking of intelligence now, not an intelligence, someone that's still with you. Because you see, I'll have to finish on this. I don't think Grandad is up there. Miles away. How far? How far is heaven, by the way? Anybody know? When did you last fly at 30,000 feet? See a spirit going past the window of the plane? Angels fly. When did you last go up Mount Vesuvius or Mount Etna and look down into the molten and see some guy that got a day off from soaking the boiler coming out of the smoke? Of course you haven't, because it ain't there. I think they're around us. I don't think Grandad's gone anywhere. I think they're with us, they're around us, and I think they're on a different vibration, different level, a different plane. So in other words, they're close to us all the time. And I don't think they've gone anywhere. And I think that's extremely comforting to know that our loved ones are still somehow with us. They're gone, but they're on a different vibration. Time zone, something, I think. But I ain't no expert. I'm just fascinated by the whole subject and trying to produce a rational sort of explanation rather than a scary demon that's going to get you at whatever time in the night. One more question, sir!
It's all right to say that, but obviously if there are spirits of like our loved ones and that, and you are going to have spirits that you should be afraid of, surely. Your mass murderers and things like that, they can stick around just as easily.
Yep, I don't think for 1 minute that Hitler is wandering around picking up daisies. Yeah? I don't think so for 1 minute. But I ask you all here now, when did you last meet an evil person? Other than the boss? Oh, well, yeah, come on, yes. But apart from the boss or the mother-in-law, come on. Evil person in fear of... Oh, yeah, well, you're a prison officer, aren't you? Yes?
As far as a ghost, I had an uncle when he was alive who did bad things to me.
Yeah, evil.
After he passed away, I had several mediums tell me that he was staying around me and he was still a womanizer, and the reason he wouldn't move on is because he was afraid of being judged.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. He believed in, I presume he believed in God and Judgment Day, which is, yeah. So, in other words, of the whole audience here tonight, there was 3 of you, put your hands up. Everybody else hasn't encountered an evil person. So what I'm saying to you is, most of us on this planet are very nice. Thank you very much. And the others aren't. So what I'm saying is that means that most ghosts are very nice. Because we are. But there is evil. But I don't do demons. I don't do it. It's church-made, created by the church. There was good, so the church had to create evil. That's it, I think. Anybody else? Last one? Yes, no. The only thing I would say is, don't worry about ghosts following you. This is haunted, you know, this place. You're actually almost on the site of a 14th century plague pit. And across the road, literally across the road, just to the right, is a road called Dead Man's Lane, which is where most of the plague pits. But here, almost on this side, there was a church called St James the Less, and they knocked it down in 1967, and they were exhuming some of the bodies, and it was part of the plague pit. And one of the coffins was brought out on what was in those days a hymac, which was like a digger, like a JCB. And as it dug the coffin out, the coffin slipped off the bucket and fell on the floor, and the lid fell off. The coffin was more or less broken. And one of the workmen, they were picking up the bones, and one of the workmen picked up the coffin lid, turned it around, and on the inside of the lid were fingernail marks. 1 in 10 people buried in plague pits after the Black Death were buried alive. And that's what causes graveyards to be haunted. If you died in the graveyard.
Roger.
Yeah.
There was something about Dudley, about the market and under the market and the plague pit under there as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, with the noises behind the door as well. So
Could well be buried there.
people are like around there.
Well, and of course the other thing to remember is that when you dig graves up, you remember that this laid to rest business, they expected to be laid to rest and remain at rest. You start disturbing bodies and picking them up. I mean, so many haunted sites are in disturbed ground, disturbed graveyards. Correct me if I'm right, I don't know how true Amityville is, but is that not supposed to be on a North American burial site? Yeah, which again, refutably causes hauntings. What I was, yes sir?
You say that scratch marks on the inside of the coffins.
Yeah.
Is that supposedly where the expression "Saved by the Bell" or the graveyard?
Yes, Saved by the Bell, because people were so frightened of being buried alive that they actually used to have a cord round their little finger, through a hole in the coffin, 6 foot up, and a bell on the outside the coffin, outside the grave, for them to ring for room service, or come and get me out. Absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, 1 in 10 people buried in plague pits buried alive, which is horrendous. Sorry? Dead ringer, another one. Yeah, all these wonderful sayings to do with death and destruction and yeah.
Still happens now, doesn't it?
Sorry?
Still happens now.
Of course, oh yeah, people get buried alive still. Oh yeah. Can you imagine being in a crematorium? But this body being whole thing, I don't know if any of you guys know this, but there are only to this day 2 crematoriums in the whole of Southern Ireland. Because it's still considered that the body must be whole, and if it's burned, that's why heretics were burned at the stake. Because the body wasn't whole and was sent them to hell. Enough. All I was going to say to you is, obviously it's nearly over. What a fantastic 2 days it's been. Don't worry about ghosts following you home, even though this place is haunted. They don't. I believe most ghosts that are haunting places are territorial, and they stay where they are. They do not want to come home with you, sit on your sofa, watch your DVD player tonight. They are quite happy here then. The only thing I would suggest, girls, is when you do go home, don't look in the mirror.
Richard, on behalf of everybody here in this theater, we are absolutely thrilled to have you here and everything that you've done for us. Fantastic speaker, and we want to thank you.
Thank you very much.